what's up, everybody? This is Case Study QB, and we are the Political Junkies back at it again. We're in the pre-show, so at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time sharp, we're going to start the real show, but we're just going to drive and relax, allow people to come into the chat. So let me be a good host. Say what's up to my man Sass is back. Yeah.
What's up? Glad to be back, man.
Yeah,
Always great hanging out with people and, just talk about whatever.
Yeah. So the first thing I want to do, let me ask you what you want to do. Do you want us to talk about your campaign at the top of the show, or you want to talk about it right now?
Your audio's breaking a little.
I'm pretty relaxed and open about it.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about, like I don't have like a ton of huge updates since. I feel like wasn't I on last week, right?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, my internal clock is just screwy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. So it's mostly just like finishing planning and everything, and getting resources ready. So I can get like volunteers going, with and like just being much more targeted. But at the same time, it's also like, all right, cool. It's November now. Like, holy crap. And got to register for the ballot pretty soon. So that's gonna that costs like $5,000, and so I got to raise that money. Yeah. Well, you can get petitions, but it's like it's on such short notice that it's like there's just not enough time to collect enough signatures.
So how many signatures do you need? I know you said you need $5,000.
Yeah, well, I think it's only 500 signatures, which is actually like not that many.
Yeah.
So maybe signatures is going to be the way to go. I'm still like, everybody's been telling me like you should go for donations, but like who knows, man? If we're door knocking and like we have clipboards with us and we're like we get people to sign a petition as we go along, like what the hell? Why waste $5,000 on it? You know what I mean?
Wait a minute, it's either or. Is that? I'm sorry.
It's either or, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely the 500. That's probably a lot easier because the 5,000 you can use that towards your campaign.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. What's up, fellas? Everybody else is good.
Good, but your audio is still cutting out a little here and there.
Really? If I talk this close to it, is it still cutting in and out?
No, it's not. It's not the mic. It's your internet probably.
Are you serious?
Yeah, somebody's still
No, not that. My notes.
Connected. Huh. I'm connected with the hard wire, so that's unfortunate if that's the case. Maybe it's just today, but what else? Everybody else is good. I'm missing my Knicks for this.
I'm missing my Hawks.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all love. It's all for the people. All right, so I want to show some things while we're at it. Let me share screen. Boom. Share. And also I want to share audio. Boom. All right. Then I could bring this up. So what do you guys think? So this is India Walton, right? She's the socialist. She won the socialist nomination. She won the Democratic nomination as a socialist, right? So here she is. She's saying my opponent lost the Democratic Party, renounced the Democratic Party to start fictitious Buffalo Party, and then when that failed, teamed up with the New York State Republican Party. He's not a Democrat, and not a Democrat has any business supporting him, let alone voting for him. So I'm not going to lead the witness and say how I feel about it just yet. But she got a lot of flack for this, and I'm definitely curious what Sass thinks. For saying that she's a Democrat. So a lot of people were saying, oh, the Democrats. So for example, first person here said, Democratic Party is not a party to be proud member of. This party has screwed over poor and working people for decades. Oh, the level of pathetic just won't stop.
Wasn't her whole thing that like she did it, like she did the socialist uprising within the Democrat Party, like in Buffalo, like that was like her whole bit.
Yeah.
And so like that she is like having this big Democrat loyalty that is like really weird and feels out of character. So I mean, like personally, like for me as a voter, like I'm like not stressing about any of that. I'm like, I don't care what party you're in. What I care about is that like you're for the people and you've got the right ideas and you're doing the right things. And so like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's how I think about it, man. Because like,
Cause I know even
I'm running as a
before.
Democrat, but like, you think
Go
I'm going to ignore the 25% of Republicans in my district? Hell no. Like, I can connect with them. Absolutely. So like, yeah, I think that this is just like a BS pandering thing, and I think more and more people are getting more and more done with this kind of political messaging as time goes on.
You're talking about India or the commenter?
This specific like tweet of just like making it about this, like, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you vote Democrat, you vote Republican. I think more and more people are like getting over that, because that was for a very long time like all of American politics was like Democrat or Republican, and that was it. And now there are a lot of people who are like, I might still vote Democrat or I might still vote Republican, but it doesn't mean I like the party. And there are a lot of people who were like stuck in that for a very long time, like 20, 30, 40 years, who are now leaving the party. And it's happening in a way that it's happening on both sides, and it's happening at a scale that we haven't seen. And I think it's accelerating. So I think that this kind of rhetoric is going to really start to maybe backfire more and more as time goes on.
So I'm curious, and of course, every district is a little bit different, right?
Yeah,
Across the nation. So I'm curious if, and Twitter is a different world. So maybe you shouldn't be messaging like this on Twitter. Maybe in real life, if you're knocking on doors and you see dedicated, vote blue no matter who people, because I'm looking at her and what she's doing as strategy, right? You're trying to strategize that to those vote blue no matter who type of people, rah Democrat type of people, that hey, this opponent, he's not a real Democrat. So if we're talking strategy, if we're talking 3D chess, then I can understand this tweet. But the atmosphere that Twitter is, the Twitterverse, they're not going to accept this, because they're not the people on the ground. They're the people that I don't want to say you want to pander to them, but that's, as we can see by the,
it's okay to like, if you're selling the same thing, it's okay to adjust your messaging based on who you're talking to, right? So like it's right, like I can say universal basic income all day to the Twitterverse, but like there are a lot of people that I would probably say monthly stimulus checks to. It's the same thing. But like I just pick a different set of words. Okay. You know what I mean? And so like I have no reservations about saying like, hey, that stimulus check that you got, like I'm gonna get you more of those. Like I think that's a really simple and straightforward message. Got you. That people, it's like very down to earth for people.
Okay, if you wanna, next time you show the screen, zoom in so we can see the.
Okay, that's true. Let me zoom in. I'll do that.
I think sometimes it's like we want to say, well, Twitter is not real people. Twitter is not real.
Yeah, Twitter's not real life. You always hear that. Yeah,
but it's not real life. You always see that. But Trump did everything through Twitter, and that's what his followers and stuff like that. If you look at AOC became famous because of Twitter. Like people that were outside her district were able to. So I really always hesitant how we always want to say Twitter's not real life. Those are not real voters. There's not really like, they're not the people on the ground. It's other people. And then those people don't show up and vote. And then like, wait, Twitter is real life or something. Like when it's convenient, it's not real life. But when it's like the results don't go your way, then, people want to say, well, that's the reason why it didn't happen. So I'm always, I don't know, like I don't really like to say that Twitter is not real life. Obviously Twitter may be representing like the whole country a little bit more, I guess, because it's like people with the same ideas and same thing. Obviously, we know the left is divided. So there's a lot that people don't have there. But I wouldn't just say it's not real life, because it's actually real people tweeting.
Yeah, here's another tweet of this guy, Tom Friedman. He said, there is only one thing as big as Mother Nature. That is Father Green, the market. If you incentivize the market to produce clean, green technology, it will do that. Tom Friedman on global carbon emissions. And basically, he's saying that the market will save us, save the earth from...
That's dumb, because 95% of the market is owned by the 1%. And we know that the 1% don't really, it's not about that. So it's like, unless the 1% switches and say, we're going to change the climate, then
Yeah, to a certain. And here's Biden's speech. He also said market-based solutions will solve the climate crisis. And I'm sure. Well, I know me personally, I disagree with that. Like, we need a systemic and very methodical strategy at this point, especially at this point where we're at, where we barely have like 8 years before we definitely fall off a cliff. Like, we have to be very systematic about how we approach the environment and cleaning it. What you guys think?
I mean, he go there to meet with other governments specifically to actually address this problem, not the I mean, he's not. He's not a lobbyist. Who's he talking to here? He went there to talk to other government leaders to say the market is what's going to save us. What sense does that make?
Yeah,
You should have just come home and taken a nap in his bed instead of taking a nap during the speech.
Oh, I got that tweet coming up, but go ahead, Sass.
Yeah, and then they all threw a coin into a wishing well to hope that climate change got better. And it's like, y'all are literally the world leaders.
Right. This is what Biden has to say about your speech, Sass. This is what he thinks right now.
They should have given Biden that cocktail they gave him for the debate with Bernie.
Oh my gosh! How embarrassing is that?
This is embarrassing, man. This is embarrassing.
No, but I will say, like, I gave him a little relief in the chat, because we've all fallen asleep during lectures and in class. We've all fallen asleep during meetings.
We're not the president of the United States.
I get that, but if you listen to who was speaking or what they were saying, it was probably some really like intro person that had nothing to do with anything. And I mean, whatever, give the guy a break. But also I don't know, the market. Come on.
He should have said Kamala.
My problem is the word "the." It's like, it's not part of the solution. It's like the solution. Like, no, there's no single thing here. Like, yes, you can leverage the market to help with like innovation. I think that if you can handle things correctly and you can leverage the market for innovation, but the market is not the solution to environmental recovery.
Well, look, I think it could be. I think it could be. I'm going to go the different way. I think it could be, because right now we have subsidies on fossil fuels, we have subsidies on coal, subsidies on corn, and all these subsidies. If you just chop that and instead increase subsidies on solar, I'm talking like 60-70%. You could it would solve a majority of it. And also regulation on the 70 corporations that are responsible for, is it 7% corporations responsible for 70% of the climate change? So it's a combination of the market, yes, and if they are able to actually be incentivized. If you incentivize them, they will do it. They will totally, it's all about money. So they will change if given the right tax incentives and stuff like that.
It is all about money, but there is no such thing as the market. Like people say, the invisible hand of the market. There's no such thing as the market. It's always rich people manipulating things. Because if it was the market, we already know that with green jobs, we could be making. We have a lot of jobs, a lot of infrastructure. The economy could be booming even more right now if it was for the market. But instead, we have the other market, which is the fossil fuels, C blocking. I was gonna say blocking everything.
But we saw it.
We would have. Oh, go ahead.
Time to start the show.
All right, let's get started. Let's get
the show started. But no, get the music ready. Hey, all right. So next time, we're working this out. But next time, you can even at like 7:59 start playing the music, and now let everybody know that we're going to start the show. Anyway, all right, that's just a producer's note. What's going on, everybody? This is Case Study QB. Much love to everybody. We're about to start the show right now. I got my man Sass here. We got everybody here. We're about to get this party started. And let me go straight around the horn. Sass, how you doing, my man?
I'm feeling all right. It's crazy that we only got 2 months left in 2021.
Yeah. Wow.
I got my election is in 1, 2, 3, 4 months. the first election, but man, that is blowing my mind. Like geez, it feels like it's come out of nowhere after nearly a year of campaigning.
Lots of work to do. Got time to ramp it up, and we're going to get you in office, my man. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. All right, Bendone, how you doing? You drinking your soda? John, how you doing, my man?
Well, let me tell you really quick. Let me get like 1 minute real quick. So you know how let me tell you about my county real quick. So you know how always like I'm one of the biggest like proponent for teachers, right? They constantly like, tell them they're underpaid or whatnot. Let me tell you what my teacher did this county. They decided, so I got my kids for a whole week because they decided that they didn't have enough teachers on Wednesdays and Friday to find substitutes. So they just were like, oh, just stay home and we'll make it a learning day because they wanted a week off. Like, how you going to be a teacher and you want a week off? And they were like, hey, parents, here you go. We can't find enough substitutes. So other counties around here in the state of Virginia kind of laughing at us right now.
Oh, wow. That's nuts. And you got a big governor's race going on. How's that coming along?
Hey, you told you, so lesser of the two evil. The Democrats are sweating. I think mini Trump is going to take it, and we're going to become the next Texas and the next Florida. So, and then they're going to blame the progressive. They're going to say, "Oh, the left did it."
I was just about to say that. As soon as they lose, they're going to say defund the police, cause the Virginia government.
Who was it? This guy, Ryan Grimm, I think it was. He put it on his Twitter not too long ago that they're saying that's the reason why the so-called, progressive that we have, they may cave in because they're afraid that, it's going to affect the Virginia race. And not because they decided to put a bad candidate, not because the progressives are not voting for the bill, and there's a reason why they may lose Virginia. So they're already finding some excuse. This race should be like 15 points, like lead. Yeah. And I think it's like 3 points or something like that. So tomorrow is voting day. So we'll see what happens, but it's too close, and the Democrats are totally sweating.
They are sweating. Izzy, what's going on, my man?
Nothing much. I'm moving one step closer to leaving this crazy city, this crazy civilization, and moving into the woods somewhere. So I don't know if we got our PJ Chris in the chat, but if I'm trying to escape just like you. So yeah, I'm excited to finally be gone with this place and just build a life in the woods somewhere.
Yeah, well, there's big news in New York is that Tish James is put her hat in the ring for a governor's race, and that's going to be big. And Jumaane Williams, he was up helping India or Walton in Buffalo, and Status Quo Jordan Sheridan interviewed him, and he pretty much said he's going to run. He's going to put his hat in the race. Also, he's like they're doing an exploratory campaign, but he pretty much said he's going to run. They haven't officially announced yet, but that's going to be interesting. So you already told us in the chat. I don't know if you want to tell the people who you're going to vote for.
Yeah, I would definitely choose Jumaane over Trish. But we'll have to see if any other candidates pop up. I mean, we still have, some time for that to happen. So we'll have to see how that develops.
That's true. Gabe is ready for something. What you ready for, Gabe?
You may have seen me on TikTok recently. No big deal, but I kind of have 200,000 views on my first TikTok. So I'm pretty excited. Okay. So now I guess I have to dress like this, but no, I'm just playing. but no, it's pretty cool. Check it out. It's my story about how I got COVID identity thefted for my booster vaccine. When I went to go get my booster vaccine, they told me I couldn't get it because I had already gotten it an hour away. So it's pretty bananas, and it's still evolving right now. So check it out.
Gabe is the guy that tell you don't go to Facebook, open the TikTok instead.
What else is new?
Sam, you gotta send me the links, man, because I don't have TikTok, so I'm only up to part 2.
Oh, you gotta get it. The what is it? China wants you to download it, so just download it quick.
Sorry.
Izzy watches it through like 20 VPNs.
Yes, if at all. Here you go, Carlito.
Nice, Izzy. Carlito, how you doing, my man?
Man, over here missing the Hawks game, but then again, they haven't been playing so hot, so maybe it's fine.
Oh man, my Knicks is on fire, so I gotta go record it. I gotta go see what's up with that. But let's get into the show. So I got a no-cow zone for the people. We're gonna ask the question: should AOC be primaried from the left? So it's going to be interesting to see who has any nuance, or if everybody's for not primary AOC, or if there's people that say, hell yeah, we got a primary AOC. I'm also curious what Sass thinks. And then we're going to answer that question later on in the show. But right now, we are going to go to Carlito's rundown and hit that up.
All right. Let's get it cracking real quick. Number one, Burr's brother-in-law calls stockbroker 1 minute after getting on phone with Senator, by Robert Faturecci at ProPublica.org. Last year, ProPublica reported that Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina and his brother-in-law, Gerald Fauth, dumped millions of dollars worth of stocks in companies directly affected by the coronavirus pandemic in February 2020, 1 week before the market crash. So, Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina was chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee last year, member of the Health Committee, and had former staffers directing key aspects of the government response to the virus. Because of his position, the SEC, which is investigating now, believes that he had material non-public information regarding the incoming economic impact of coronavirus. So imagine this. The SEC investigation found that the Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina, the millions of dollars of stocks, then called his brother-in-law, spoke to him on the phone for 50 seconds, and then a minute later, the senator's brother-in-law called his stockbroker, and he dumped hundreds of thousands of dollars in stocks. So why in the world are politicians and judges allowed to be involved in the stock market when the jobs put them in direct conflicts of interest, Gabe?
So this one's really, it just highlights the two-tier justice system that we have. I mean, even did they get Martha Stewart on insider trading? Wasn't that why she went to jail? And
Yep.
and with politicians, we just look the other way. You look at politicians like Nancy Pelosi, who's gotten rich in office, and you see a lot of things like this. This senator is not the only one. The senator's brother-in-law is not the only one. There were tons of politicians that were doing this, especially at the start of COVID, investing in PPE companies, investing in all these other companies. So I think it's just all we have to do is enforce the regulations that are already in place about insider trading. The SEC should look into this, and they should drop the hammer, because that's completely unacceptable. If you're not going to get the senator, you could definitely get the brother-in-law, because that's unacceptable. If you or I did that, we would be locked up.
Yeah, but they're not going to enforce it because they all do it. So it's like, if they go after one, then they're going to be like, okay, well, you have to go after yourself.
And this
But
brings
this is like
more.
this is
But
straight up
also
corruption
senators
in the
are
public.
weird because they just said, I just had it in trust, which is, crap or whatever. But they just tell whoever's running the trust to do it. But why are they allowed to even be involved in the stock market in the first place?
Yeah, I like the idea of putting it in a blind trust as soon as they get elected.
Yeah. Sass, how hard do you think that is going to be to like convince these guys to, make it illegal for them to do anything in the stock market?
Well, I mean, right. So you have to remember, like, these are the people who write the rules.
Exactly.
And so, like, this is when I like talk about government accountability. That like, don't expect the government to hold itself accountable. Like, it's got to come from the people. And so that's like my whole thing about like, we need better information access. Like, we need to get this in front of people's eyes, right? Like, we're seeing this right now, all of this, but like, we are way more plugged in than 90% of Americans. Right. And so like, I want to leverage 21st century tech to like get this information in front of people and to have it in front of them when they go to the polls to vote, because that's where it's going to make a difference. And it also is going to give me leverage in Congress to like say, hey, by the way, your whole constituency knows about this shit that you did. Like, you can do something about it here and it'll help you or it'll hurt you, but they're going to know what's going on, and that's going to cost you on election day. So you go along with what I say, or not what I say, but you go along with what the people want. And you can help to ensure that you're going to be able to keep your seat. So yeah, like I said, you can go to voteforsass.com if you want to learn more about my plan. But yeah, government accountability, man, it's got to come from the people at the end of the day.
Yep, 100%. Hopefully, we can get you in office and we can get that going, because that's something that's definitely needed. I know I had a show earlier. We talked with Liv, and she was talking about direct democracy, and that's like touching on it. That's what Sass said was definitely going in that direction. But go ahead, Carlito. You want to go to the next? story.
All right, but one thing I want to say is that this was in ProPublica. If the the normies, the people that are not PJs like us, if they don't see it on their local news and their mainstream media, they're not gonna know about it to hold people accountable. And those people that control the media, they they just don't want that to happen. So it's a tough road.
I haven't seen CNN or anybody talk about it. So
exactly.
Wasn't he on Twitter though a little bit, or am I making that up? I'm probably making it up. Never mind.
Twitter's not real life, remember?
Yeah. All right. Next story. Generational wealth implications. Black and Latino owned homes are more likely to be undervalued. By Chiara Alfonseca at ABC News. A new study analyzing more than 12 million home appraisals between 2015 and 2020 found that water is wet, the sky is blue, and birds fly. Next story. All right. Actually, the study, what it found was the Black and Latino homeowners are nearly twice as likely as white homeowners to have their homes undervalued. This is even after taking into account other potential factors like home structure and neighborhood features. This robs Black and Latino families from enjoying the wealth-building benefits of home ownership. So even when they achieve one of the hallmarks of the American dream, they get robbed. When you consider how much of your net worth can be built into your house, that means that an average white family has 8 times the net worth of a Latino family and 10 times that of a Black family. Nationwide, 85% of appraisers at the end of 2018 were white. So, John, when you sell your house, I suggest you do what one Black woman did in Indiana when she was getting lowballed in her appraisals. Take down all your family pictures, hide all your ethnic art, and have a white male friend show your house. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's a good idea. But, this is the problem. And this is why we always have said, right, when we tie education to property value, this is probably one of the main reasons why you see when I live in this neighborhood and this elementary school is an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, and it's tied to my property tax value. And, I drive 5 minutes across the street and this basically almost the same house, just because, the neighborhood that may be, the property value is not as high and they don't get what we need. So I definitely, is something that they're telling us that any of us here really is not shocking. We know this is how the system was created. And this is why we have to fix it. Two, another article mentioned, we don't want to blame everything just on, the 85% being white appraiser, but, obviously they play a role in it too as well. But we just have to get away from that scenario of like property tax and education. And I think that will also help. And I think this is a great idea, what you mentioned about not having family picture and maybe having a white friend showing my house. I'm going to do that next time. Even though, I know a little bit about real estate, so they can't I think if they ever try to appraise my house at a certain time, I would be like, no, it's not happening. But as we know, right, we all have to always talk about generational wealth. Like if I'm selling my house and I'm not selling it for its worth and I'm losing money. Also, the article talked about that people take equity on the house to start businesses, to pay for school, to do many things. So if they don't have any equity in their houses, they can't even start a business if they want. So like you said, it's nothing new, but I think, the article was really good. So it's out there, and then hopefully this gets fixed.
Yeah, at least it's somebody else is studying it. So the more people that put that out there, the more at least you'll get some shine and people.
And hopefully we'll stop putting property value based on school, because that's the number one issue right there.
Yeah. So next story. Betsy DeVos was misled by Theranos founder before investing $100 million, Rep says, by Ben Popkin and Min Vion Burke at NBCNews.com. Former Education Secretary Betsy DeVos was given false and misleading information before investing $100 million into Theranos, whose founder and former CEO is on trial for allegedly defrauding investors and patients about the company's blood testing technology, a representative for the DeVos family office said. It could have happened to a nicer woman or a nicer family. I mean, Sass, what would you do if your criminal family's personal investment office got defrauded of $100 million?
I actually, I kind of want to connect this to what John was talking about. If we had a Secretary of Education, and I know this is previous administration, we had a Secretary of Education who didn't have $100 million to just throw away, then maybe we'd be actually doing something about the fact that we tie education or public school funding to property values, property taxes, which is just stupid. I think if you have $100 million to throw away in a company that you haven't researched, and which if you look more into the article, you realize that's what happened is they didn't know what they were doing. Like, I don't feel bad for you. Like, I can't. The fact that you had that kind of money in the first place, like it's like, all right, yeah, whatever. You invest money, you're gonna lose it. Like, I'm not saying it's right or whatever that this woman like defrauded, that this woman committed fraud or whatever, but like, man, I don't care. She's gonna be just fine.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
Yeah, she's got like 6 different yachts from what I remember. Like,
Yeah.
and one of them got vandalized.
She'll be
and-
okay. She'll be okay.
She'll be all right.
Yeah, and it was $50 million they plan on invest, and then she got sweet talked into investing 100. So
Yeah, one conversation made her go from investing $50 million to $100 million.
I mean, if you had
perspective
100,
of how much money this woman has.
yeah, if you had 100, if you could just say like, yeah, what 50, 100.
I just looked it up. She has $2
you got too
billion.
much money.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, yeah. There's not a lot to say. It's just rich people getting in rich people's trouble.
Yeah, and the way this family is, I don't feel sad at all because they're a bunch of crooks anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So next story. Speaking of rich people and crooks, Phil Knight, a case study in billionaire tax avoidance by Chuck Collins at the Institute for Policy Studies. Nike founder and billionaire Phil Knight, worth an estimated $58 billion, according to Forbes, is a subject of an expose informed by research conducted by IPS Associate Fellow Bob Lord, published by Bloomberg Businessweek, along with terrific explanatory graphics. Using public SEC filings and other publicly available data, Lord reverse engineer an analysis of Nike's tax planning techniques. If he were to die today, these techniques will enable him to avoid roughly $33.6 billion in estate and gift taxes, according to an interview with Inequality.org, and this is all legal. Lord said, but this story is not about Phil Knight. It's about the abject failure of Congress to address the situation for several decades now. Sweet, sweet summer child. After the story we talked about earlier, you think Congress is going to do anything? But anyway, Phil Knight lawyers and the lawyers of many America's richest people create something called a grantor retained annuity trust. So when he promised to give away most of his wealth for charity, he's really giving most of his that money to his own foundation, getting a big tax break. And then when he dies, this trust has the ability to make his value appear to be worth almost nothing somehow, so his heirs can get billions of dollars tax free. So I had a group chat discussions with some of my fellow PGs about this, and you've seen it, where I made the case that there should be zero tax deductions for anything. And one of the reasons is this. So Izzy, are you jumping on my bandwagon?
Absolutely, hell yeah, I'm all for it. What's crazy is that with this property search that I've been going through lately, I've learned a lot about like how some of these billionaires pull this stuff off with the way they depreciate their assets, and I mean they just continuously do that over and over again, pretty much until they're ready to die. And then when they are ready to die, they just hand all this off to their offspring, and their offspring gets the value of all these properties at the current value. So if they bought it at 100 grand and it turns out to be 5 million, worth 5 million later on, the offspring gets that 5 million value, and they pay zero taxes on that. Zero taxes when all that wealth is handed down to the next generation. So we talked about wealth generation before, right? And wealth building throughout generations. Yeah, I mean, it would be great if we as Latinos and Black people and just people of color in general learn how to do that. But I mean, this is a hugely corrupt system. So it's not just, even these grants that allow you to do this. There's all different types of ways of depreciating your assets every single year so that it looks like you're taking a loss when you're making hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. Bezos does it every year. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I know Sass got a solution for this. What you think about this, Sass?
I mean, first off, it's Congress, closing tax loopholes and funding the IRS. That's a big one. But I mean, again, though, this is a thing that I talk about all the time. Like the combined market cap of the two largest American corporations is greater than the combined net worth of all like 735 American billionaires. Like these billionaires are stealing a lot of money, yeah, but it's nothing like what the corporations are doing. And like, yeah, I want to get their money too to like give to the people or put toward healthcare or whatever the hell else. But like, it's the Google searches, it's the Facebook ads, it's the Amazons, it's all the corporation stuff that you want to go at, and that's the consumption taxes applied at the point of sale. That's really like. That's how you really get it. But like, yeah, that's where the real money is. And so like, that's always the thing I want to highlight is like, just keep in mind perspective and scale of like, don't get too distracted by rich people shenanigans, because at the end of the day, it's drops in the water compared to what corporations and national governments are dealing with.
Yeah, and there was another place I saw that if just from this trust, over the past 13 years, the U.S. Treasury lost out on $100 billion. Imagine what you could do with that.
You said last how many years?
13.
13 years. Okay.
We
So
wouldn't
you're
need,
talking
need
about-
Elon to donate his money.
Say what?
We wouldn't need Elon to sell Tesla stocks.
Oh yeah, I know. Saw that today.
That he's a clown.
No, I mean, so yeah, so that's $8 billion a year for a government that runs a budget of $4 trillion a year. So it's like, it's not nothing, but it's like, well, it's like 0.2%. Like it's like how again, it's like you got to put it in perspective. It's like our whole budget is basically 4 things. It's defense, right? Military, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And everything else is effectively like just about prioritization. So it's like, if you want to talk about like, if we're talking about money on the scale of the U.S. federal budget, like if you're talking about anything less than $500 billion, then you know it's not that significant, to be totally honest. Like everything else can pretty much be arranged through prioritization. So again, I'm not saying don't go after it. I'm just saying that like, that's not the priority.
Well, you know, a lot of people always talk about simplifying the tax code and things like that. So, you know,
and I'm down for that.
You know, what if, you know, one of my suggestions is just don't have any deduction whatsoever. I know there's people use them as incentives for, you know, like oil or solar or whatever. What if there just wasn't any?
Yeah, I mean, I think like the thing that's nice about tax deductions is that like you can do them all at once at one time in the year, compared to like rebates or whatever. But like you have tax rebates as well, so it's like I can get on board with that philosophy. Like that is one way to operate it, but you have to rethink a number of other things if you're going to do that. And again, I'm not necessarily against that. Like I think that is like a reasonable philosophy and a reasonable approach. I think it's workable.
I'm not saying it's the fix for everything, but it's, you know, it's one way to simplify things and avoid a lot of those loopholes.
Yeah. Again,
I mean, like,
my big thing is like, look, if we were just giving people money, like if we had a basic income, like I'd be much more in line with just no more tax deductions. Like just simple. Let's just start simplifying stuff. That I'd be down for generally. Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
But you know, you have some of these people that they buy a yacht and they'll tell you that's their house and they like pay no taxes on it. They buy a private jet for like they buy a private jet and they'll be like, oh, they deduct the crap out of it. And by the time they like end up paying anything for it, it's the same thing that I pay for my house. So it's like until we close the loophole. I know a lot of people talk about unrealized gain and all this and that. Like, you gotta close the loophole. You gotta I think Ryan Graham and Ryzen had a good explanation on how the rich get away with not paying any federal income tax. Right? They use the leverage that they have in their stocks to get loans. So you go after the banks. Like if you loaning people $50 million and it has nothing to do with business, you go after them and they have to pay a certain interest rate or tax rate at that loan, because if billionaires are getting away with it. But again, it goes back to the American people. If the people that are making the laws are multimillionaires and they're not going to make the law to affect them, And we have always said it, the fastest way to become a millionaire is just be a politician. Look at Cinema. She went from net worth of 30,000 to like net worth of $1 million or something like that overnight. So these people are going to write the law that benefits them. And we cannot afford, and I know, Sass is running for Congress and stuff like that. Like, I would love to see Sass there, but not more than 12 years. Like, go and spend your 12 years, do your job, have somebody that comes in, get them in, and move out. Enough time to get him corrupt, but not corrupt enough that he'll be bought. He'll be bought by everyone for a lifetime, and that's the problem we have. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Mitch McConnell, all those politicians been there for 40 years, and they are bought by the corporation, and they don't have to change anything. So,
yeah, I don't know. This could be a no calzone because I don't agree with you there, John. I don't think that makes a difference at all. Because if you're only going to be there for X years, then you just go do your dirt and get your, private sector job like Cinema.
So that's what you got to do. You got to say that you're banned from going into that industry for like 10 years, and that would cause for people to hopefully not do the revolving door where they keep going back and forth,
But that's banned from lobbying. Even if they do that, that's 12 years rather than stuck of 40 years. We've been stuck with Nancy Pelosi for 38 years or something like that. Some crazy things. So
I was thinking about that. Sass, what you think about term limits?
I'm pro term limits. I mean, I've got a whole page on like political limits and like kind of like my approach and how like what's politically viable. That's like a big piece of it. Is like what can we actually get done? And so like I definitely include in that like a restriction on going into like industry and that includes regulators as well. It's not just the politicians, it's also regulators need to not be allowed. And there's another thing too that like is a little bit more controversial, which is like pay people more. Like everybody's always like we should pay Congress minimum wage so they understand. It's like that's never no. Like a lot of this corruption started because the price of living in Washington D.C. started skyrocketing. And Congress people couldn't afford to live in D.C. and at home on that wage. They were sleeping in their offices, and so they had to find another way to make money. And then corporations were like, hey, we can do this whole lobbyist thing, and we can give them money, and we can make deals and do all this stuff. And then like that led into that was kind of the seed of what a lot of what we've seen today. So like, look, man, like I'm not trying to inflate my own salary or whatever. Like I'm down to just exclude myself from it completely. Like I'll figure it out, man. I'll sleep on the steps at the Capitol. I don't give a shit. But if paying if like doubling the pay of Congress is what it takes to like get political limits and say like, oh, we're not going to okay, then they can't go into industry and they can't do all these other things, and that limits corruption. That's so worth it because again, what is the scale? We spend like a couple $1 million or whatever a year on congressional salaries with a government that operates on trillions of dollars budget. Like it's a drop in the bucket, and it is so worth it to reduce corruption. Like it's all about scale and keeping perspective and priority. So that's where I'm at with it.
Well, yeah, I think that would be a very interesting topic. We could even do it in no calzone and stuff like that because I slightly disagree. Like it's like we're paying $180,000 for these people to work 97 days of the year, and they spend all their other time. Like campaigning. I also think that maybe the state should pick. If you're going to work, if you're going to send in DC, you could use your $180,000 for DC, and the state should have some type of for their representative, right? Like,
why don't they just build like a big? They have it could be kind of fancy, just a big condo for the Congress people.
Oh, I've thought about this so much before.
Something like that.
Thought about they should just have an apartment complex like this, where like everybody gets an apartment that's like under 1,000 square feet with like shared washer and dryer, and they have to do like communal dinners and like actually be neighbors and like talk to each other. And,
wow!
Oh my god! Imagine
and they have to get on a subway to go to work together in the morning, and so like it's actually a community of people, and they have to get to know each other. They actually have to learn to like each other. And it's never going to happen. But like, man, I would love that for Congress. That would be amazing. And you're not allowed.
I would rather do that than paying them $300, almost $400,000 for 97 days.
Yeah.
Me too, but it's not politically viable. I agree with you. I would rather do that too. But it's like the question is like, is it politically viable? Look, if that changes, man. If that all of a sudden becomes politically viable, I am so down. Are you kidding me?
I know. I have one solution that will fix probably like 90% of all our issues, and that is no money in politics. That's it.
I knew he was gonna say that.
All right, we're gonna come back to this because I definitely want to talk about this in like having a no-cow zone.
Yeah. Well, let me say one last thing about this story. The only real surprise that I found, because this was a big story that a big article in Bloomberg, and I'm surprised that Michael Bloomberg allowed it to be published there. Being that he's one of those people that does a lot of shenanigans with trust, so it's crazy. I guess he knows Congress won't do anything about it anyway, so he doesn't care.
Uh-oh. Alan, PJ Neat said Sass already sold out. Politically viable, Sass already sold out.
Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of corruption instead of just like asking for it politely. Like, I'm actually planning things and like trying to get things done.
Yeah, it's all love. It's all love.
It makes sense. It's like you de-incentivize them from taking outside influence by incentivizing them financially. It makes sense.
Sure,
we got to revisit that because
I
will go
to more than 97 days. Then
less corrupt. It doesn't make any sense. Like just saying it like that. Yeah. But like if it works, man, like whatever. I don't give a shit. I just want things to work, man.
I hear you because I would go in the direction of the socialist alternative member, Seattle Councilwoman Swama Sawant, where she literally only gives herself minimum wage, and then the rest of her salary she donates it to the socialist alternative organization. And in other countries, they also the other socialists they give away a certain percentage of their salary. But I do agree that if they have to stay in Washington, D.C., they need to live somewhere, so they need to pay for the rent. So that's why I like your idea of that dormitory, the dorm. Izzy, I heard you was trying to jump in. Were you going to say something about that dorm idea?
Well, I mean, having to sit next to Joe Manchin every day would be you blow your brains out. But I did also want to say that like the idea of paying people minimum wage in Congress is crazy because then we would never get, regular people like, you would never get an AOC. I'm not saying she's a saint. I'm just saying you would never get someone who is making a living wage already then being, thrown into Congress. Like she just wouldn't even run because she wouldn't even be able to afford it.
But that's okay. I can understand your point with not being able to afford it. I agree with you there. But my thing is, what are you doing it for? If you're going in there like, I'm going to make this 6-figure, salary.
Yeah. But what about if you have a family? What about if you have kids?
Yeah, let's be real here. Like that, 180 grand in 2021, especially in DC of all places. That's not. You're not rich. You're not rich by any stretch of the imagination. You're comfortable, but you're not rich.
Yeah. So we got to do something about the rental situation and the cost of living over there in DC, because I know Virginia is like they have the richest districts in America because of all the defense contractors and all the stuff that wants to have.
No, that's not the reason
Congress.
Why. That's not the
reason, John. You're from Virginia.
The reason why we are the richest county in America is because we have a lot of data centers. So 90% of the world internet goes through our county. And the reason why in data centers, they pay taxes and they don't cost a lot of anything to maintain, so that's obviously the government, there's a lot of government employees here too. It's a lot of government contractor, but it's not just because the company itself. And they're also very business friendly. It's very business
friendly. Yeah. That's code word for low taxes.
Yeah, no, right? All right, real quick, I'm gonna say what's up to the chat, and then we're gonna go back to the last article, right? And Alan, PJ Neat, shout out to you. Rafael Rodriguez, shout out to you. Holly Horn in the chat, shout out to you. And I think that's it. Silver Wolf, if you're still there, much love. And then let's go to that. I think we got one more.
No, that's it. That's the last one.
All right. Oh, that was the last one, or?
Yeah, that's the last one. That's the last story.
I wasn't paying attention. All right.
You want more? I'll give you more. You want more? I'll give you more.
Nah. All right, let's go into a no-cow zone. Let's talk about AOC. Now, that's the no cow zone discussion for today. Should AOC be primaried from the left?
Is this even a no-cow zone?
Oh, we got some Izzy. I'll let Izzy jump in to give some nuance. I'm curious what Sass thinks, and then I'll play devil's advocate if we need to. But so how many people say AOC should not be primary? Everybody, put your hand up. Should not be primary. Okay,
What?
Gabe.
What?
Wait a second. Hold on. What?
What?
Can you explain this?
From the left.
She should not be primary from the left.
From the
Yes.
left. Should not be primary.
I don't think she should. Not be
Okay.
primary.
Should
What?
not.
I think
So, Carlito, go ahead.
I think everybody should be primary from the left. Always, no matter who it is.
So we got some. Okay, this is interesting. We got some no cow zone going on here. Some no cow zone energy.
I mean,
So,
it could only get
Carlito,
better.
go
It
ahead,
could
take
only-
the floor.
Yeah, we can only get better candidates. That's it. Like, there's no point to it.
Just continuously put pressure on that left candidate so that they don't go, start voting for missiles
Exactly.
to Israel.
Somebody starts getting comfortable going to Met Galas or something.
Yeah. Nah, good point. All right, Izzy, give us
Hold on. This is me the entire time looking at Gabe saying that she should not be primaried from the left. Like, I am so confused right now. Not just because I take the opposite view, but I'm confused how you specifically, Gabe, have that view. I need to hear from you first, and then I'll go.
I mean, out of all the people that need to be primaried, am I like extremely satisfied with AOC's results? No. Do I think that she's, one of the better ones? Yeah. I'd rather focus on the cancers that are in the party, like Joe mentions, that we can try to get out versus, like it's the circular firing squad of shooting AOC when she's decent.
Okay, I at first I thought your wife was weaning you off of Jimmy Dore, and maybe that's why you were starting to come to your senses. But now I see that Holly Horn also says the same thing. So my guess is Jimmy Dore is saying this, and that's why you both agree.
No, Jimmy Dore is like depth to AOC.
Listen,
Jimmy Dore hates
as you both
AOC.
messed
It's just
up.
that I'm capable of having independent thoughts and opinions.
Nah,
And
I
I'm
mean-
That's not true. We know that.
by all of the various.
So
all of the
listen, Gabe,
various-
Easy,
I
what do you
agree
have to
with
say?
you.
Wait, hold on. Go ahead, Carlito, and then I'll
I
go.
was saying, I agree with Gabe that she's one of the better ones. So there's no, and if we had to choose who to primary, she wouldn't be nowhere near the top of my list. But I'm just saying, everybody should be primary. 'Cause why not?
I have PTSD from when Donna Shalala won in my district because there were 5 progressives running and 1 corporatist, and the 5 progressives split the vote, and then the corporatists won. So I don't. If in AOC's district, I could see,
Wait, hold on. Well, let me throw this at you then, because we have ranked choice voting here in New York now. So if she is primary, we do have ranked choice voting. So does that change anything for you?
Oh, that
anything because ranked choice voting doesn't get rid of vote splitting.
Yeah. So we know Sass has a lot to say about that.
Wait, is that the whole state? Because I thought before it was just for the mayoral race.
I think it's just the primaries, actually.
It's the primaries. Yeah, it's the primaries within the local elections. So
Okay.
Partisan.
So yeah, I mean, so for sure, AOC's primary. If she were primary,
Yeah, it doesn't affect the. Yeah, it's not going to affect a federal race.
right? It's just local New York City and state.
Okay.
So
So Easy,
It's-
what's your take on this, Easy? I'm waiting.
I mean,
I'm waiting
Izzy
for you.
is from that's his representative. So what does Izzy think?
So yeah, I
Okay,
mean,
yeah.
before recently, I would have said flat out no. Like I would have been a flat out no. But I do agree with you, Carlito, that there's like, if we have a candidate that can do it, let's do it. I mean, we've seen great candidates come up from the left, primarying establishment Democrats, and failing. I mean, we look at Nina Turner, right? Like we have these candidates that are going up there and they're not able to win their races, and that's super disappointing. So, you talk about, Gabe, primarying from the left for these really terrible candidates. Well, we do that sometimes, and it doesn't freaking work. I think we would, number one, send a huge message about the the progressives if we were to primary someone like an AOC and actually be somewhat successful, number one. And number two, I just feel like I'm really worried about this Build Back Better plan and this infrastructure bill. I'm really worried about the progressives caving on this and voting for it. Either one, really, either one at this point.
They already
If they
did.
vote for either
They
one,
already said yes.
but well, maybe I'm not up on the latest, like because it changes every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But
They-
if they are,
as of-
if AOC puts her vote on either bill, I'm ready. I'm ready to primary her. Not me personally, but you know what I mean. Because
Nah, I hear you
to me, this is the final straw. Like this is the straw that broke the camel's back. You just can't vote for this bill. Period. If you do, then what makes you progressive?
Okay,
Exactly.
interesting.
And
Sass,
this is listen.
go ahead,
go ahead,
John, and then Sass.
No. Let the man Sass speak.
Because Sass is going to be in office, so Sass, we got somebody ready for you. To the left of you, any moment.
I don't think she should or shouldn't. She's an incumbent, and her district loves her, and she's going to win the race. So it's irrelevant.
Well, he's in her district. Easy in her district. So,
and I'll say this to you, Sass. When Crowley was the incumbent, and we thought AOC had no chance, I was still out there volunteering for her. I was still out there door knocking for her. I was,
but did people love Crowley?
We didn't even know who he was. We honestly didn't even know who he was. But the establishment loved Crowley, and the establishment's money loved Crowley.
Yeah, but
and he was elected. I get you, but he was elected for how many different terms in a row because the establishment loved him.
But what I'm saying is like, if anybody's going to beat AOC, it's going to be the establishment. It's not going to be the people, because the people in the district like her. You see what I'm saying?
We do to a degree. That there has to be a limit there eventually, though, right? And I do hear some rumblings here of people not being happy that she's just not doing enough. Maybe not necessarily like specifically from the left, but it is there are some rumblings that she has just turned into the other just yet another politician that we didn't want.
Look, I don't have a huge horse in the race at the end of the day, but I'm just making my prediction.
Okay, interesting. All right. Any last words on this? Go ahead, Carly.
AOC aside, I just think as a matter of principle, there should always be primaries because I don't want anybody to be comfortable. Preferably from the left. But she's popular, unlikely that she's going to lose. But for other candidates to be primary from the left, everybody should. I don't see why not. We want people to be more responsive to the people, and this could keep them on their toes.
I'll actually give you like a strategic reason why. So if we think back to the Tea Party, or like 2014, 2012, whatever the hell it was. And basically, like, they played a really, really smart strategy where they went and they found all of these really low turnout Republican districts, and then they focused really hard on just those districts, and then took over enough of the Republican Party to actually like take control. And that was like a really smart and very targeted strategic move. They didn't just run candidates everywhere. They were like very, very focused. And so like in principle, like philosophically, I understand where you're coming from about like just primary everybody all the time, always, because we don't want people to get comfortable. Like, I like that attitude. But just like realistically, like politics is a money game, and there's like limited resources, especially on the left, a lot of poor people on the left. And so it's like,
I'm not saying just waste money and do it everybody, but just because somebody is on the left, it doesn't mean they shouldn't be primary. Now, if somebody is there and everybody likes them, and and there's nobody that wants to primary, or there's nobody that's even on their level to like challenge them, then there's no point in primarying them. But I'm just saying, if there's somebody that really wants to and they're on the left of them, do it. Why not?
And you don't think that, let's say even if the person had no chance, specifically going back to AOC, right? Let's say the person had no chance. You don't think that they can at least help pull her to the left? Like, just like we see in every other election, right? We saw Hillary talking about lowering the age of Medicare, right? I mean, there are certain candidates that can pull people to the left, and I would be more than happy if that's what happened too. Holly, no. AOC has become Crowley. No, that's too far. That's too far.
Holly hates the AOC. So sometimes like some of those like we're here to defend. We when Holly goes to left, we kind of like or to right, we kind of like bring her back. But no, but listen, here's the thing: like AOC, regardless if she wanted or not wanted, she quote unquote became kind of like this popular figure. Everybody knows she's like the most famous politician from the left and whatnot. And the left is looking for a voice, someone to follow. So at the end of the day, the first 2 years we gave her a pass. We say, oh yeah, she's only been there 2 years. She's a rookie congresswoman. Let's give her a pass, right? She's been there now 3.5 years, 4 years. Why not? The left is looking for some leadership. We know Bernie let us down with this whole, Joe is my friend crap and not fighting for what he needed to fight. We didn't agree here. Like a lot of us didn't agree on that first vote. A lot of people in the left thought that we should have done it. I don't think so. But voting for this bill and going and the progressives are going out there and saying like, oh yeah, we agree. We're gonna take the president word for it, and we're gonna believe him that he could get Joe Manchin to say yes. I think that's the last straw. I think that any progressive that vote for that bill or any progressive that cave in should be primary, and we should just like figure it out what the left party is really going to be and what it's going to look like. Because at this point, they keep telling us the exact same thing over and over. It's like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. So at what point do we say enough is enough? And we had it, right? Like we continue to defend them. We continue to say X, Y, and Z. No, give them time. And now they give in. Like Manchin has more power. If AOC uses her voice, AOC has as much power as Joe Manchin. If AOC goes and say, I'm not voting for this, I don't care what, I'm not voting for it, she's putting pressure on her colleague to not vote for it.
Yeah.
But
Did you guys see the press conference? Did you see the press conference that Joe Manchin came out today and in the middle of the day, and he said that basically he said that he's not voting on the bill because the House, he says the House Democrats, but we know who he means. He means the progressives are holding up the bipartisan bill. So he's saying he's not going to vote on a reconciliation.
Yeah,
bill
he said
until
that holding up the vote is not going to make him change his mind.
Yeah,
on it.
Like in my tweet, I said it's a master class of gaslighting because everything that he's doing, he's accusing other people of doing. But go ahead, Carly,
he's the one holding it down. But what I think right now, we're getting like overboard over here because AOC is not progressive extraordinaire, whatever. But who is really? We can't all just try to be looking for purity tests all the time. Because I'll take 100 AOCs right now in the Senate. Straight up.
So this is my problem with like AOC. The only whenever leftists get into office, they always tack to the right. It's just a matter of how much they tack to the right. Do they go a mile like Kristen Sinema, who's just she baffles my mind. Like, or you do what AOC did, but she's still in my opinion, she's still like you would call her a progressive, but she did tack to the right in the sense of not being so strong against Israel and others. She mentioned all as often. She said she was going to hold her powder for Fight for 15 when we was talking about forced to vote, or the people was talking about forced to vote. She said no, let's wait for Fight for 15, and Fight for 15 came and she never did anything. So like that kind of tack to the left, that's my issue with progressives. So Sass, when you get in office, can you stay who you are?
So no, this is really. I'm glad you asked this. This is like a question that we need to ask candidates way more often, particularly new candidates who are planning on going to Congress. I thought about this a lot when I was deciding to go or deciding to run because, dude, I'm only human. We all are. And if you spend if you're trapped in Washington, D.C. and the party elites aren't letting you talk to your constituents and you're surrounded by lobbyists all day long and they're in your ear telling you that if anything changes, the world's going to collapse. Eventually that's going to start sinking in a little bit. And so I thought a lot about how can I create systems to keep me grounded? And so one of the things first and foremost is I am committed to live streaming at least once a week. So I have just a direct connection to the people. So and that is, I've held that up, man, dude. I was in an Uber a couple months ago and I was time to start streaming. I didn't get to my hotel on time. Doesn't matter. I'm going. And like, but like also this government accountability system that I was talking about earlier about like, okay, every time I vote on a piece of legislation, every time I do some weird crazy shit, whatever, like somebody else, like that's going to be put up on in the feed, you know, of like my constituents who are on this app, and they're going to be able to say whether they approve or disapprove of it. And if like, and then I'm going to have a public scorecard of how representative I am of my district. And if I'm faltering, man, they're going to see that notification on election day saying, hey, Sass is only 30% representative of your opinions. Maybe you shouldn't vote for him. And so like, this is like really huge for me that like these systems need to be in place to keep me accountable and keep me grounded. Like, call me out, dude. Like I said, I'm human. I'm going to fuck up. Like we got to work together. You can't rest on your laurels just because you voted for me. You need to stay on top of anybody you elect.
Yeah.
And that includes me.
Let me add one more thing to you, Sass. Go on independent media. PJ's political junkies, but not just political junkies, but go on, you know, whether it's TYT, whether it's whoever is your favorite independent media. I don't want to throw out different names, but
I'll go on anything.
Huh? Yeah,
I'll go on
exactly.
Anything, man. I'll go on an AM conservative radio talk show. I'll go on Young Turks. I don't care.
You know why? Because you can do live stream, which I encourage you to do live stream. AOC does live streams too. But the thing is, when you're looking through this chat, you could decide. It's you who decide what questions you want to answer. So now, if you're going on at least once, like you said, it would be great if you do it once a week. I would love to see you go and bolster up different independent media, because as an elected congressperson, you're not only getting your voice out to the people, but you're also bolstering up independent left media, period, so that we get stronger, so that when 2024 comes around, the presidency comes around, we can combat mainstream media. But they will be able to ask you the tough questions, you know what I'm saying? And because the audience is going to hold them accountable. Like, so let's say it's political junkies, you know, Neat is going to come on here and say, hey, why you didn't ask Sass such and such question? Or Raphael, they're going to say, hey, why you didn't ask them this question? You know, go ahead, Sass.
Yeah, ask me the hard questions, dude. That is like so important. Like I've like thought about like, oh my God, I'm going to dread the mainstream media interviews I'll have to do when I'm in Congress, where they just ask me like just terrible questions. Like, I find like give me real, actual hard questions. Like, I'm so into it. Like, I need to be able to answer that stuff. And it keeps me on my toes and makes me think about more things, dude. It makes me think more dynamically about stuff. I think it's healthy.
And I think, just to let everybody know real quick, and then I'm going to pass it to John. Sass is serious, because I saw him on Twitter and he was going back and forth with somebody on Twitter. I believe it was like a Medicare for all, because you're not exactly. Yeah, you weren't exactly for Medicare for all, but you said you would vote for Medicare.
I was like, I would vote for it, and he kept getting mad at me because I was saying that like there were a couple of changes that I might like to make if I have a chance. Yeah. But he was getting mad at me about it. I'm like, I would vote for this. I don't know how else to explain that I would vote for the thing that you want me to vote for.
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
The question that I would ask is, again, going back to like the popularity and the power that they have, right? At the end of the day, like Sass will go in, right? But Sass is one vote. One thing that we always have talked about Republicans. Look, every Republican is a no. They know how to play the game. They know how to play the politics. Mitch McConnell is the leader of the Republican Party. When he says no, it's no. It doesn't matter whoever it says. So as a progressive right now, you're looking for that voice, that leadership, right? And regardless if you want it or not want it, AOC is that voice that the progressive like have, that everybody knows who she is. So if you in the politician world, you have to be part of a team and say, this is how we're going to go. And we noticed the squad doesn't vote the same. Not sure why they call themselves a squad. And then they never align. You have one over here saying yes, you have one over there saying no. And I wish that Cori Bush had the same popularity as like AOC and like maybe the same power or something, because I think she put a press release talk about that she's not going to vote for it, things like that. But again, the leadership, the quote unquote leadership that we have decided to put on her, regardless if she wanted it or not, just because how popular she has become, she either hate it or love it, or there's people in the middle. That's what we have to look for. So Sass, if you have someone like AOC saying no to something, and that's like the most famous politician that you have in the party that you're going into. Are you going against that politician, or are you going to try to, like, you know, if you and the progressive, right? Because we know that the moderate always stay together.
But they've been going against her because she has been vocal about a lot of stuff before, and they still go against her. So she might be popular, but she doesn't have that internal power, because that internal power comes from corporate money.
And
she doesn't have that.
That I want to do differently. Is like, look, I'm not gonna get the favor of Nancy Pelosi. It needs to be this. It needs to come from the people, right? It needs to be the external power, and that's what I'm talking about when I was talking about that app where my constituents vote on what I do. Like, I'm just the guinea pig. Once we worked out the bugs and the kinks, this can be applied to every representative in the country without their consent. And then we have all of this public data, and I can leverage that, and I can go up to other representatives, and I can say, hey, I pulled 10,000 people in your district. 60% or 6,000 said they voted for you, and of that 70% said they support my universal basic income bill. Of the 4,000 who voted against you, 80% said they support it. If you co-sponsor my universal basic income bill, I will let all of them know for you for free. And if you are consistently on that, guess what? You don't have to raise money anymore to win your elections. All you have to do is just vote in the favor of the people, because everybody's going to get a notification on election day about how representative you are of their opinion.
And you know what's another level to that? What would be very interesting is if on that same app, it has the primary challenger on there, that person is saying, hey, I would vote for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we can put candidates on there too, for sure. We can absolutely. I mean, like, this will be funded by donations, and like, again, it's by and for the people. There's no government involvement in this at all, and so like, it's flexible, and we can like, it'll be open source, and the people can add whatever they want to add. Like, I want to try to like lead it, and I want to be like the guy on the inside, sort of. But at the end of the day, like, this is something ultimately from the people and created and maintained by the people. That's the whole goal.
Yeah, we got 2 minutes left. Go ahead.
And then it can be translated into different languages, and then the whole world can use the same platform. So you have other democracies that can start using the same thing to hold their own representatives accountable.
So that would be great when it happens, but you also got to think about, you got to convince your grandma to put on her Obama phone or whatever. You know?
I have thought about how we could integrate like mailed sheets. So like every week or every month we like mail out a packet of like all the different pieces of legislation your different representatives voted on. You can go through and you can mark your opinions and put in comments, and then that can be and then you mail it back, and that can be agglomerated. You might have to pay like some small fee just to pay for like the paper and shipping or whatever. But yeah, I thought about like how to integrate that as well to like make it more accessible to more people, for sure.
Yeah, so
I really love that idea.
One thing I want to say that, you know, with as far as AOC, I think she could use her voice more publicly for different things, but at the same time, you know, us PJs, we know a little bit more about how the sausages made them. The people that watch, you know, The View or something like that. So we hold them almost to a higher standard than most people. And there's only, you know, the squad is what, 7 of them or whatever. They don't have that much power, and we keep like tearing down the people that are on our side.
They have the same power as Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is one guy.
Man. He's a senator. First of all, he's a senator.
The Senate versus the House, though. It's different.
All right. First,
he's a senator. The House, they need the vote. They don't get things through without their vote. Their margin is small.
But they're one in, how many in, is it 500 whatever? How many in the 431 and 435?
There are just enough of them to prevent something from going through.
Yeah, well, just enough of them together. But AOC doesn't have as much power as Joe Manchin.
Right.
They need 3.
She does not have the same power as Joe Manchin, but she's the most
popular. She could wield more power. She could put more public pressure on people. But
she could say the squad. She could go in there and be a party that says, if the squad doesn't vote together, then I'm leaving the squad. Yeah. And go say, well, the reason why I left the squad is because I'm no longer part of it.
What do you mean leave the squad? It's not a committee. Like, it's just a fake thing.
He's the nigga gave himself.
You already said they don't even vote together and everything, so they're not.
So they
in
should
a
stop
unified
using
front.
that. So they should stop using the term. They should
Listen,
stop using
everybody
the term. They keep
knows
going and says we are
that-
the squad. We are the.
Everybody knows that Manchin and Sinema are a front for a whole lot more of conservative Democrats. All right, they have a whole lot of people behind them. The squad or whatever. That's it. That's it. They
What do
don't
you
have
mean,
a whole bunch
progressive
of.
caucus? What about the
behind them.
progressive caucus?
Listen, no Republicans going to vote for either bill, regardless of bipartisan or whatever. So, because if they had it, they would have said to the progressive, "Forget you, we don't need you." So they have the power to say no. They said this is what we want, and whatever. Let Joe Manchin. And when you lose in 2022, this is why you lost. You lost because of Manchin and Sinema. So don't be like, oh, we're afraid we're going to cave in because you're going to lose the Virginia race, or because this or that. Oh, we're going to take the president. No, like they agreed. Like the only people that are constantly doing, we went from 10 trillion to 6 trillion to 3.5 trillion, now to 1.5. Next thing you know, Manchin tomorrow is going to wake up and say, I think it'll only be 1 trillion. And then you have, that clown or Senator Mark Warner, who's my senator, talk about this is a bipartisan bill that I led. Dude, you're worth $300 million. Like, of course you led that bill because it's all for corporations. So at that point, it's like you're screwing people. Like,
So we're at the end of the show. It's past 9 o'clock. So I want to ask Sass real quick to be respectful of your time. Do you have another 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, I'm good. I can do. I can do another 10.
And I know Gabe might need to run, but it's all good. And I want to do rapid fire, but I'm really, really curious. And I agree with what John said, definitely with the fact that there's a rotation. They call it a rotating villain, right? Where you have a villain this time, and then the next situation is another person. And it's just, to me, I want to just have a list of, I call it GTO, get them out, and have a list of like all the bad Democrats and have why they're a bad Democrat. And then we literally go target those people. And
you need an encyclopedia.
Yeah, I know, right? But I'm going to do it. And I think I'm going to put it on peoplesgarlic.com, like right next to About Us. I'm going to have GTO, get them out, right? So Sass, though, I want to ask you, what do you think about the 175 reconciliation bill? Is it enough? Would you vote for it?
The thing that's changing every 15 minutes?
As fast as you can.
I mean, like, I've stopped paying attention to the details, man. Like, I'll take a look. I'll actually look at the legislative text when they settle on something.
Okay, so you want to come back on the show next week and let us know what you think?
Do you think it's going to be settled by next week? Because I don't.
No, I mean,
so if you were in Congress today,
go ahead, John. Go ahead, John.
So if you were in Congress today, you would take Joe Biden's word for it to say he could convince those two senators and vote on one bill without the other.
No, I know I wouldn't take Joe Biden's word on anything.
Good. All right, that's what I need to hear, because
that's what I needed to know.
All right, so let's go to my tweets real quick. I'm gonna go to my. Let me see if I can bring it up. Let me know if you can hear this.
Hopefully very frustrated with this White House.
Yes.
Make the ask. They didn't commit to.
All right, let me start it over real quick.
House Democrats in leadership and moderates are very frustrated with this White House that he didn't make the ask. They didn't commit to this, and that's why they're trying to push this vote to Tuesday. Because if Terry McAuliffe loses, there is going to be no way that these moderates vote for this.
This recrimination, by the way. How concerned are you if McAuliffe loses that it becomes a circular finger point as well?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right now, if Terry McAuliffe loses, Katie barred the door. I mean, it's the deluge.
Because you think it's that catastrophic?
Yes, it's catastrophic, and it's a panic button, because last time a Democrat lost, and last time a Democrat lost Virginia, we lost 60 seats in the House, right?
Correct. 2009.
Yeah.
But by the way, it's already become a circular pointing squad, because you have the White House saying, look, if McAuliffe loses, it's not on us. McAuliffe is saying, get in a room and figure this out. And I've been speaking to Virginia voters who say they are sick of the intransigence. So it's hard to say that what's happening in Washington won't impact the race.
Yep. So that's exactly what we was talking about earlier, that there's going to be pointing at each other, The
thing is, real quick, I know it's rapid fire. The thing is, if you look at that dude when he was in CNN, when Joe Biden was running, he stayed like just dissing the left, like stayed dissing the left, like progressive this, progressive that, progressive. He wasn't that great of a governor the first time around. So you go on TV, you like basically step on my views, and now you say like, oh hey, by the way, still vote for me because the other guys, you know, it's just another Trump. Like, no, you're gonna lose because you suck, not because like.
And another
They're
thing,
just gonna blame the
I'm
left,
in New
right?
Jersey, and there's a governor's race in New Jersey as well. Phil Murphy versus Schiaparelli.
Did you see?
And all
did
I
you see
see is
Obama
negative
video?
ads. What's up?
Did you see Obama video?
No, I didn't see Obama's video, but all I see is negative ads on both sides. Like, they're not saying anything that they would do in the affirmative for the people to help the people. Like, if they're going to do a mini UBI or a child tax credit,
because it works. It works.
Obama,
because they're not going to do anything.
I got a hot take.
Go ahead.
Obama basically,
what you just said about they're only attacking and they're not talking about what they're going to do for the people. That's how I feel when people say tax the rich. I don't give a shit about the rich. I just want to help the people. Like, focus. Fund the people. That's what I care about. I don't care whether or not the rich pay their taxes. I just want to make sure that the people are taken care of. That's what I care about.
But for the people to get taken care of, don't you need to tax the rich?
Hey, sure. I like whatever. I don't care. It's irrelevant. But the thing that matters is that the people are taken care of.
Go ahead. Here's a great. Now that you mentioned that, here's a great thing. Like, that's the thing. Like, the Democrats, they took over the majority and everything in Virginia, and they have done a lot of great things. Like, you know, they ended the death penalty, they legalized marijuana, they increased, even though they did it incrementally, they increased the minimum wage. They have done a lot, but they don't talk about that. All they talk about is like, we cannot allow Virginia to be like Texas and Florida. We cannot allow Virginia to be run by another Trump. Like, dude, focus on the good that you have done and get people motivated to vote for that rather than continue to put fear. And they don't do any of that. All they do is just literally just like attacking that. And again, it should have been a 13 to 15 point lead. They put a terrible candidate in, and now they've like all scrambling, and then they're going to blame the left because it's like a 2 point lead. And everybody's a lot of Republicans are excited to vote tomorrow.
So I'm going to play this video, but I want you to listen to the commentator, the host.
Back on climate, Democratic leaders seem to be saying that you need the business community in order to hit any of these targets. The climate envoy, John Kerry, has said that. President Obama has said that. You held a hearing this week with oil executives, and you went hard at them. Don't you need them to be partners and not adversaries here? What's your end game?
Yes, we do. And the European companies actually are being partners. European BP and Shell, not perfect, but they're at least announcing a reduction in some of the oil production consistent with the UN goals.
But you're subpoenaing some of the top oil executives in this country. What is the end goal for that?
The end goal is to have transparency. They're saying they're for the Paris Accord. Great. They're saying they're for climate action. Great. Well, what are they doing to actually hit those targets? Why don't they be honest and saying, okay, here's where we're going to invest in clean energy. Here's where we're going to transition. Here's where we're going to cut some of the production on oil like our European counterparts. They shouldn't say one thing and do another thing. I want them actually to be partners. I want them to own up to some of the past outrageous statements. I mean, the Exxon CEO in 2002 is saying that fossil fuel burning does not cause climate change. And the current Exxon CEO, Darren Woods, wasn't willing to say that's an outrageous statement. It'd be like if the president of the United States today was defending Andrew Johnson. Just condemn the outrageous statements in the past.
Thank you very much, Congressman.
I mean, this lady, first of all, you got President Obama. You know, that dude's on my enemies list, but he's already out of office, so I can't even get him out of office. And he's the one, they're saying that he
got real
need
power,
the business community. Go ahead, Carlito.
Obama got real power, but I just found that whole ridiculous. It's like, listen, this guy's trying to kill me, so he has to be my partner by using lower caliber bullets over time or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was like,
come on now.
The end game? The end game is transparency. No, the end game is to stop using fossil fuels. What? How do you get that wrong? Yeah. That's a multiple choice question, and there are two options: end fossil fuels, and like literally everything else is wrong.
Yep. Man, I have I'm looking for it here right now, real quick. I had Cori Bush, man, and how she flamed. I don't know if you guys saw how Cori Bush flamed the CEOs of Exxon and all the different gas industry.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, if you guys didn't see it, you got to go see it. And so let's end the show right here. Man, I had so much fun. Maybe if Sass, you will come back on and talk about this bill. I don't know if it's going to be done, but I'm curious. You say you didn't know the details of the 1.7 trillion. That's what you said?
I stopped paying attention because it like I said, it changes every 15 minutes. It's stressful. It's not worth it. I have no power over it right now. Like
okay.
When they're ready to like actually put it forward for a vote, then I'm actually gonna like.
All you have to know is free pre-K and 500 billion for greenhouse emissions that are not even defined yet. That's basically all that's left at this point.
Like I said,
but that's what I'm saying.
I like to look at the legislative text because they hide all sorts of shit in this stuff, man, and you never know what you're gonna find that they don't talk about.
Go ahead, John, and then
that's what I'm saying. How the left is like just bad politician. Like my man goes here in the show and what's his name, Roe, and he's like, yes, the left is prepared to vote for it, and I'm going to vote for it. Like, dude, like don't say like even if you're going to say yes, play politics and be like, we're not sure. Like, let's wait for the text or something. Like, we could get there.
Man, these people are not fighting.
Like, yes, they automatically just.
Yeah. All right. So much love to everybody. Sass, man, I always love having you on, coming on and chopping it up with us. And Holly Horn in the chat, all for nothing in the chat. PJ Neat, Raphael. Who else? Who else we got here? Holly Horn. Much love to everybody in the chat as usual. And any last words? Let me go around the horn as Bendone plays us out with the music. John, what? Any last words?
Could have been in the world, but you're here with us. We'll see Virginia. Keep an eye on Virginia tomorrow. That's gonna be very interesting. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Izzy.
Everybody who has a chance to vote for better internet for John in case, please do so.
Yeah, I don't know what happened this week. Was it just this week?
Dude, I have 1 gigabyte fiber, man. Like, I don't know what's going on.
I think somebody's like CIA, somebody's after us. Go ahead, Gabe.
Listen, my options is just like the governor race. Comcast or Verizon. I don't have that many options.
Gabe.
I'm very depressed about the current state. I'm not even registered to vote tomorrow. My voting registration expired, and I have no desire to go vote in my local elections. So I think it's going to take. I look at the state of the Build Back Better plan and how they're failing, and I think that they're not giving me anything to vote for. So I think that
Gabe, I'm going to find that.
If I'm a political junkie, and I'm like, wait. If I'm a political junkie and I watch all the news and I get all that, and I'm not inspired to vote, it's a very bad thing and I think it's going to be a very terrible midterm right now or next year.
Yeah, we need you to. So wait, your voting card expired, you said?
Yeah, voter suppression.
I didn't even know that's a thing. Florida, man.
It's like every 8 years or every 10 years, something like that in Florida.
That's crazy. All right. Sass, any last words, my man? Tell us about the website, anything you need to let us know about?
Go to voteforsass.com. Yeah. Throw me a couple bucks if you don't mind. We got a campaign we got to get going here, and we need some support. And if you want to see some government accountability, I got you. That's what it's all about.
100%. PJ Nee got a message for Gabe. We sold out to TikTok. Carlito, last word.
Hey man, we don't live in La La Land. You still got to vote. You still got to work the inside and the outside. All the purity tests, that's for the outside. The inside, you got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah. That's what I want to talk about, electoral politics, because there's a lot of people who's enfranchised because of people like Kristen Sinema. She was a Green Party candidate. You would think, okay, she went into the Democratic Party to be a secret super socialist liberal, and then she gets in there and is like, she's the opposite, So hopefully next week I'm curious. I really want to have a discussion on electoral politics, and hopefully we can have Sass back for one more show and talk about that. And that's it. Much love to everybody as I go out with no music, but it's all good.
Thanks for having me on.
You could have been anywhere in the world.
There you go. Hey, no problem, Sass. Much love to everybody who's been anywhere in the world. But you're here with us. I appreciate that. Pedro Hernandez, Nancy Bancher, PJ Chris, and I don't know how to pronounce that name, but I'll try. Akash, Akita. Much love to y'all. Peace.